Continuing our coverage of StarCon 2011, I'm here with Rachel Gladman, diva of the Twilight Star Productions. Oh, look at her blush, look at her blush. Can you tell me, aside from, your obvious connection with the production studio, how exactly did you get involved?
I write, I draw, I ink, I edit, and I graduated college. The economy crashed, and I was like, do you know what? I might as well do something I love. I talked to my dad. I'm like, there's a lot of stuff for somebody, a jack of all trades, a master of none, for me to jump in and help out with. So I just kind of jumped in. I was kind of the auxiliary help, I was the cavalry that came in. Whenever something needed inked at the last minute, I would ink a page or something like that. And then as I got more and more comfortable with my current working conditions, I started producing my own stuff. So,
what is it you're working on for the production company now?
Right now, we're working on Anti-Humans. The artist is actually an amazing artist named Brandon Slumsky, and it's going to be a full-length, full-color series.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and everything he colors, he does in Copic markers. There will be no digital computer colors in the
he's
book.
going old school.
Yes, he's very old school.
And that's great in this day and age. So I'm sure there's a lot of technique to it, but
no doubt, Lisa Moore is amazing. Lisa Moore is amazing. It's an art in itself, but we really want to go for this it's becoming a forgotten art, being able to color by hand. So, and his coloring by hand is better than his computer color, so we're like, let's go with it. So that's what we're going to be doing.
If it's not broke, why fix it? Especially when it's excelling what's, become almost a standard nowadays.
And also, I wrote the story Pond's Bridge, which Stacey Gatson is illustrating. And the other story that he's working with, Denial, is actually written by my dad, but it's adapted from a short story I wrote in college. So
we have that to look forward to.
Yeah. And I appear as an editor in a couple titles. Pretty much our system is, if you want your book edited by me, you can have it edited by me for free, of course. But if you're in a rush and you think you can forego it, you can. But that's a risk everybody chooses to run.
Right.
So, but I edited the source book and it ran flawlessly. And unfortunately, we had some problems with the printer, and which was never misprint something that the editor worked very hard to perfect.
Right.
Because then they want to burn your place down.
Yeah.
But everybody in the studio knows that if they want somebody who's went to school to do this, to edit their stuff, I'm available. So
cool. One thing I have to ask, because he's not around, it's well known your dad is Bill. Give us a little dirt. What's it really like working for your dad? And I don't mean just like a dad in general. That man.
It's a really complex situation. It's kind of hard because sometimes you need your dad and your business partner's there instead. And you're like, Dad, but I have a concussion and I'm sick. And he's like, no, this is your deadline. So sometimes you want your dad and the businessman's there. Sometimes you want to talk to the businessman and your dad's there.
Yeah.
But my dad's the most important person in my life. He always will be. The only person close is my loving boyfriend. But me and my dad are a relationship that a lot of fathers and daughter envy. And it's like, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have this passion. But he drives me crazy sometimes. We don't always agree.
Oh, no.
So there's he has the experience, I have the education. I have the college degree. He has the experience in the field. So sometimes we have different views and we argue. But
You have the know-how, and he's a know-it-all.
oh, yeah. But I mean, like, we always have each other's back no matter what happens. So.
So see, there you go. That's another perk to Twilight Star Studios. It's not even just you and him. It's after getting the chance to talk to everybody. It really is like a family, and it comes through in your guys' work. You know, I've talked to you guys many times before. You work a lot with everybody. You do this, you do that, and I found out too that it's not just you. You know, a lot of the other people here, creative ideas. You know, it seems like you guys have always got each other's backs.
Well, what's great about the studio is most sports team have one pitch hitter, you know, like somebody where you have to get the RBI. And
Everybody has their one like gym lead, and everybody leans on them.
And with the studio, if you need help, like there's always somebody that comes to bat for you. Like before I found Stacy, Gary was like, oh, I have a lot on my plate, but you really need to get another story out, and I'll find a way to illustrate it. And then 2 days later, Stacy walks through our door, and like I just happened to have a cyborg story that I was working on, and he's amazing with cyborgs, anything futuristic anime feel, and like the story coming up, Crossing Ponds Bridge is like Ghost in the Shell meets Frank Miller. It's out of this world amazing, and it's all because of his art. Like, there were several times I've almost canceled this project because I felt that my writing hasn't lived up to his art.
Like, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy.
And what's really sad about it is he loves the story. Like, but I mean, me being a writer and an editor, I critique everything I do.
Yeah.
So.
And it's nice to have that support from somebody that you know you're looking up to him, and you know, and you're kind of like, oh, it's not good enough, but he's
and he feels the same way to a certain degree, and that's what's great about the studio is you're surrounded by people that you admire, and if you produce something good, they will tell you produce something good. And if you produce something that's mediocre,
oh, they're going to tell you.
They're going to tell you, but they're going to tell you in a way to make it better.
Yeah.
You know, we're here to not tear each other down, but build each other up.
Yeah, I've already got that impression. They're not just like that with your guys' studio. They do that to me. They've been doing that to me like all day. Like we get done with a segment, and you know, it's like, you know what? I think I would have asked that a little bit differently. You know what? I would have done that. And I'm like, who are you? Oh yeah.
But I mean, like that's just what the studio's about. And like, I mean, I never thought that the best thing that's ever happened to me was the economy crashing and not being able to find a job. But it's like, I really feel that I'm accomplishing more with Twilight Star than I would have been doing accomplishing something with a textbook company. Don't get me wrong, if you're a textbook company and you're hiring, Rachel Gladman.
And then we'll tag your resume later.
But I mean, like, it's been a fantastic ride, and I'm going to be sticking it out until our names are up in the stars with everybody else's.
And we'll be right there with the telescope to watch you guys holding up the mic. Remember us? We talked to you guys so long time ago. Come back. So,
but it was nice talking to you.
It was very nice talking to you, and we look forward to seeing your work again in the future.
All right, thank you.
I'm here with Dirt. You may recognize him from the panel I hosted last year at Champion City. This time I get to talk to you one-on-one, so you know there's no hiding behind anybody. Let me ask you, how did you get involved with these just crazy bunch of guys?
I've been told the story so many times, I should know it by now, by heart, but basically my brother Gary, which you'll probably see later, and Bill got together and they worked on the story, and they decided it'd be a good chance to form some kind of studio, you know, so we can produce work, because everybody had ideas, and you know, no one had a way of an outlet for them. So basically we got together. My brother asked me, and I said, that's cool, you know, I'd like to join and stuff, so I joined, and the rest is history.
Now, one thing I have to know is, you know, I've gotten a chance to meet a lot of the guys from Twilight Star. Your average sit down, how much actual work gets done, or is it just you guys screwing off? You know, how much?
You mean at our meetings?
At the meetings, yeah.
It's a little bit. I mean, we sit there and we talk about ideas and what needs to be done and new stories and everything. I mean, there's a little bit of, you know, what you gotta make it a little fun.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, if you attend one of our meetings, be pretty informed and stuff. You know, we are pretty professional about it. Mm-hmm. But, you know, we do joke around and...
No big, wild, crazy shenanigans.
No, nothing like that.
No waking up
until Frank comes in.
Until Frank comes in, yeah. I've heard stories. Waking up the next morning hungover. Who drew that? Did I draw that?
No, we don't do all that. We usually don't drink at our meetings and stuff like that. You know, just all business for a couple hours, and afterwards, you know, if we're still there, we basically, you know, still talk about ideas and sometimes draw and everything else.
So it's honestly, it sounds like it's a bunch of friends who have actually not only say collaborated, but have pooled their talent. You know, and it's a rare thing that you have that many people who know each other and have that much in common to...
Yeah, I mean, because originally none of us knew each other. I mean, other than me and my brother and stuff. I mean, so we were all strangers, and we seen this person that had talent and had it... you know, what we needed, you know, for stories. You know, he was a good artist, he's a good writer, you know, and asked them to join, and they were all happy, you know. They said, yeah, sure, you know. It was a way of getting their work produced also.
What's a little bit of the difference between working on your own and coming into a group like Twilight Star Studios?
Well, because working on your own, you can do it whenever you feel like doing it, and you don't have deadlines and all that other stuff, you know. I'd rather work as a group, because that way, if you're having trouble with one part, you know, you can ask somebody else and they'll help you out, and they can get, you know, kick around ideas and everything else.
Well, speaking of work, can you tell us a little bit about what you're working on right now?
Currently I'm working on this ongoing series since the studio started 2 years ago, and that's Legacy. I don't have anything to show you right now, but
I'm sure we'll slap up a...
And this was the first issue. Our original was black and white cover with low budget, and it started the story. Yeah, God, look at the quality of that. It started with a story called Legacy. It's a 3-page story that continues in every issue of Tales from the Field. And we started that, like I said, 2 years ago. And my story right now, Legacy, is pretty much the only ongoing story in there. The rest of them are, you know, one and done. And there's a couple of them that's to be continued, but, you know, we're still working on those.
Anything in the works that you'd like to...
Yeah, and I'm still
any new fresh idea? You know, we're trying to get the exclusive here. Any spoilers? Anything you have, you know, rattling around in the back of your head you'd like to put the ink pretty soon?
Yeah, right now my brother and I, we're currently working on ideas for, well, this is ideas we've had for years, but we're finally working on it, is Saga of the Neutron Gods.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it's going to be like a 6-issue miniseries. Yeah, you guys excuse me, that's why I'm wearing these glasses, because I'm half dead, because I had to work.
Late night, burning the candle at both ends?
Well, working, yeah. I worked third shift, so.
Oh, I feel you. No, I
didn't get any sleep before coming in, so been trying to still. Anyway, I'm drifting off, but yeah, Saga of Neutron Gods. It's going to be the event. We're starting it probably next year. It's going to be the event.
Right on. When you heard it here first. We'll look forward to seeing it. Check out the Twilight Star Productions website, and we look forward to seeing your work in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Mike here, and I'm with Joe Pruitt of Twilight Star Studios. Yep. Let me ask you, this is about the only time I'll ever be able to ask this.
Okay.
A lot of people we've talked to, artists we've talked to, we like to ask where they get their inspiration from. Mm-hmm. You actually physically created your inspiration.
Yeah,
can you tell us a little bit? You know what I'm talking about. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
My creator-owned project is Britt and Ivy, and it is based off of my 2 daughters. So,
that is a long way for inspiration. Most people, you know, they dwell on my stories. You went so
Oh,
far.
no, I don't mess around.
You knew years ago, man.
I got to make sure I have at least 18 years of material to keep this book going, as long as it possibly can, and that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, a lot of people, they get inspiration from like work, but I mean, how long is a job last? You never know. With this
maybe
hobby,
6 months, a year.
Yeah, but I mean, you went so far as I need inspiration.
Yep.
Let's make some inspiration.
Exactly.
Can you tell us a little bit about the book?
Yeah, originally it started off as a web comic that I eventually collected into the trade that we have right there. There's 15 strips and a lot of background sketches and things like that in it. It was also ran in a local newspaper for a period of time, and then at that point I finally decided, I need to go full force with this, and so I started developing the first story for the ongoing series, which should be out hopefully by the end of the year.
Now, what really was your kind of inspiration? At what point did you, look at your daughters and say, "Man, I got to get this on paper"?
Well, I've actually thought about it quite a few times in the past. It just never happened. Over the past 2 years, some things have changed in life and stuff, and we were all just sitting down one day, and actually it was them. I was trying to get back into the comic industry, and I hadn't done a whole lot recently at that point. I was like, what can I do? Because I want to do something more of my own instead of freelancing, doing inking and stuff like that. And they were just like, well, why don't you make a comic about us? And so, they threw some ideas at me, and
that is that's awesome.
Just started developing the style of the characters and everything. And so a lot of the original strips is actually based off of ideas that they came up with, and I tweak them here and there, but really it's pretty much their baby.
How nice is it to know that in like maybe 5-10 years, you might be getting into an argument with your daughter, and you're like, "I never said that." Yeah. Issue 13, panel 2. Yes, you did. It's right there. Yes,
exactly.
you did.
They kind of stuck themselves in that spot. So good for me, bad for them.
Yeah. Now let me ask, how did you get involved with the crazy guys from Twilight Productions?
Actually, it's kind of a funny story because they were at, I believe it was a live art show at the Yellow Springs shop at Superfly a little bit over a year ago, about a year and a half ago, and I was there. And I knew Bill from, not knew him, but I met him a couple times through the Champion City and whatnot. And I had some other friends who had worked in past studios with him. So I knew of him, but I didn't know him personally. Well, we were all wound up being at the live art show that one day, and they were kind of looking at my stuff, and they were looking at their stuff, and at that point in time, they were kind of needing an inker and somebody to do this and do that, and we just kind of talked from that point, and it just kind of elevated, and we liked what each other was doing, and just kind of made that connection. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, as long as the girls keep up the adventures, we look forward to continue reading all the hijinks.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Yep.
Mike here, and continuing our coverage of StarCon 2011. I'm here with Stacy Gaston. Let me ask you, you're part of the Twilight Star Studios. What do you bring to the production company?
New work, I guess.
We like new work. Yeah. New work's good. That old stuff's rubbish.
Just a new flair, I guess. That's the thing. So this is my first time interview, so you got to work with me here.
Oh, hey, no problem. All right. I won't be too hard on you. What? Tell us a little bit how you got involved with the guys from Twilight Star.
Well, I've been knowing Bill for years, but he was talking to me about this group before, and I wasn't really clicking onto it until this year when I saw him in the newspaper a couple of months ago.
Oh, so. Bandwagon jumper. You wanted to make sure the fire was hot before you jumped in. Oh, no, we got you. No.
It was like a big surprise. And I looked at the paper, was like, wow, what the hell,
Yeah.
And then that's when I contacted him up, said, hey, how can I get in?
To make sure it was more than it's a bunch of guys drawing stick figures in a basement. I can't say I blame them on that. We've all fallen for that before, the artist in the back van. I agree with you. What projects are you currently working on?
I'm working on a project for his daughter Rachel, crossing Ponds Bridge, and then I will be working on Bill's work, Denial, here soon. So, artist,
yeah,
drawing it up. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, as usual, you can check out everybody from Twilight Star Studios' work at the website.
Yeah.
And it was a pleasure meeting you, and I hope we weren't too rough on you, because
No.
once you become big, we're going to be like, hey, we were your first interview. You owe us. G4 and all you guys, step aside. We know the guy, so
right.
you saw it here first.
I will be around.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit of how you got involved with the Twilight Star Productions folks?
Well, I've known Bill for a long time, and basically I worked at Bookery Fantasy for about 5 years in Fairborn, Ohio, and Frank and Bill were both customers there. So I got to know them there on the other side of the table. And I just kind of went to a convention at Wright State, Gem City Con.
Oh, yeah.
And
Remember
ran
Gem
into
City?
them there, and they were talking about, hey, getting together, making some comic books with Twilight Star Studios, and wanted to know if I wanted to submit any work and start doing some comic books. And I was like, yeah. So I showed up to last year's convention, StarCon, and had talked to I talked to Ron Fortier and got a script from him and started working on that. And a year later, I've got about 4 or 5 books, working 4 or 5 different books, and probably about 20 pages of work done, comic work.
And let me ask you, what for you was the difference between working solo and then working for like the Twilight Star Productions guys?
Well, I tell you, one thing is the fact that since there's other people working towards a goal to make a book, it's kind of nice because you have a little bit of competition. Everybody's got a job to do, it feels like.
Yeah.
So it kind of drives, there's a goal there. There's something to achieve. We do have deadlines, and, that makes it a little bit more attainable to say if you want to get some comic book work together for your portfolio, that it's a place. Twilight Star is a place where you can do that. You get a good script, and you can, be around some other artists and just bounce some ideas around.
Right.
And it kind of keeps everybody going. And it's not really, I wouldn't say it's a competition, but it's kind of nice to see what other people bring to the table.
It's those healthy little nudges. So how those pages?
Yeah, exactly.
How's your pages coming?
Yeah, how's that Crook story going?
Yeah.
And then when I hear that, I'm like, well, at least somebody wants to see it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even if it's just my friends that are in the studio, somebody wants to see it. So
Now you mentioned Crook. That's your character.
that's my character, the Crook.
We got a little sample of him earlier. At the,
Yeah, he is a hero click. Yeah. So he was a character that kind of spawned out of the script that I got from Ron Fortier, which was called Dragnet, and there was a character in there who he shows up and meets his demise at the end, and within those 5 pages, I thought, wow, there's something else here. There could be something more
There's
here.
more.
Yeah, so I started messing around with the idea of getting a place, getting a name, getting an idea for the character to bring him back, and become something of a mainstay in the Twilight Star universe,
Right.
And even if it's just my little piece, like I can, say, well, at least I created the Crook and he was around for a little while and did some stuff. And I bounced the idea around with Ron Fortier. I'd mentioned something to him. He said, hey, man, that was just all I had. So go with it and run. If you got something, have at it, you know? So that's what I did. And I was like, I really kind of like the crime noir, the 50s, the 40s, 50s kind of stuff. I always liked the pulp heroes, and I thought, well, it'd be kind of neat to take a new, maybe not a new look at it, but maybe
a new little spin to it.
but maybe a little bit of a spin, something that's coming, me as a filter. This is the character that I want to portray. This is the character I want to show, readers and fans out there. Hey, there's still more out there. There's still things. Everybody has their own thing, even if you're influenced by something else, comic-wise, movie-wise, book-wise. Being your own filter and coming up, with your own ideas, there's still a forum for it. If it's Twilight Star Studio or some other independent book, as long as you have the idea, there's a place to make it happen.
Yeah.
And that's what I think. That's the great thing about Twilight Star is it helps those creative people that are involved. If they're willing to put the work in, and willing to put the pages out there, we can get them out. We can print them, and that's where the Crook kind of come from. Is the fact that I saw 5 pages of work sitting there. I was like, I kind of like this character. I kind of like the look. I started getting a look to the character, an idea of what the character might be like, and I was like, wow, I'm kind of living in this head, and I think I can see this going further. And I kind of just took some ideas of nothing too original, nothing too great, but made it my own thing. You know what I mean? So it's going to have its own look. He's got his own own personality that's going to come out within the pages, and the story I think is a pretty solid one so far, and it's really kind of building itself. Right now I'm working on what's the origins of the Crook, and then there's the Dragnet, which conveniently fits in right in the as his demise, and then I have another 8-page story that I'm working on that's going to be like what happens after that, and what makes him a hero, and how does he get involved with other heroes in the Twilight Star universe. So I think we all have the idea eventually somewhere down the line where all these guys kind of meet up, and they have some kind of task or some kind of thing that they have to do, and I think we're all kind of looking at that as the big picture, just having fun with it, as maybe somewhere down the line there might be a Twilight Star team-up book where the Crook and G-Man can cross over with, Legacy or Jack the Rabbit. And one of the first ideas I came to the table with was the hero clicks, making hero clicks for the Twilight Star characters. So exactly.
Mediums.
So it's to add the gaming aspect, to add another viewership out there. People that might be just into just games, are like, wow, who's this Crook character? Who's this Legacy character?
Yeah.
Might want to read something about them. So we got them in, starting to get them in game form. And my idea was to make a box set where you would get like 4 or 5 characters, and there would be a scenario and a map involved with dice. It started to get, everything started to get, and I was like, well, first off, I got to get the characters down. And I met up with a friend of mine who is actually still, he makes a lot of his own dials and cards. He's a graphic designer named Chris Silver, and we kind of teamed up on a few projects earlier, and I was like, hey, I've got these Twilight Star guys wanting to make clicks. What do you think of that? He's like, hey, bring it on. Whatever you got, we can make happen.
Yeah.
So what we end up doing is I get the information from the guys, I kind of make a power sheet, and then we kind of go back and forth until we get something that's usable. And the main goal was to make it where it would still be fun and wouldn't be overpowering. And the 2 games we played today kind of proved that point,
Right.
That it was fun and not overpowering, and there were scenarios that came up that were only specific to Twilight Star characters. Things happened where the guy that was playing, he was just like, wow, I never thought that would happen, that scenario. I try to engineer it to be that way. So there'd be just certain instances where it would be like the Crook does something that no one else could do, or G-Man does something that no one else can do. So
that little bit of uniqueness.
Yeah, it's a little bit of uniqueness. Yeah, exactly. And and what he said was, I want to know more about this Crook character, and he bought one of the comics. So that worked. It worked out there. Even if it was just that one comic, it worked out there. So
I gotta say that's pioneering, because we've talked to a lot of people, and we've seen a lot of creative ideas to get people to read their comics, CDs, DVDs, pamphlets. But to come out and create your own hero click, man, kudos. That's a brilliant idea. I like that.
Thank you. It's something maybe possibly next year we'll see that box set I keep talking about. But right now with the dials are there. There's 2 dials that are on file now that anytime I need them, I can call a guy up and have them printed and sent to me. So we got 2 down, and maybe a dozen more to go. But I would like to see at least 4 or 5 figures in a box set, maybe versus the Nick Timidar, which is kind of like the guy that's ripping through the covers of all the books.
Yeah,
he looks like the Minotaur with the broken horns. So he would probably be the in scenario piece. So you'd take like Jack the Rabbit, G-Man, Legacy, in the Crook verse an aspect of the Nick Timidar.
Right.
Because they're talking, today I was like, okay guys, how big is the Nick Timidar going to be? Because I got a thing that's like this, and they're like, guy about this big? No, about this big. Maybe more like this big. So lots of plastic there, but it's always doable, because what I like to do is the Frankenstein process of making customs, where I find interesting pieces out there and I just add to them, or I take away from them, and like arms, legs, heads, whatever I need. And to make a figure that big, you don't have to look far in a comic book shop. You just look around, and there's plastic all over these. Yeah, there's plastic all over these walls, and if you need a big character like that, it's not that easy to. It's not that hard to find. It's actually kind of easy. So
yeah. So there you go. Not only can you look for the Crook's appearance in comic books, but keep your eye open for him in the gaming section. You might just see the Hero Click.
That's right.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Pleasure.